this was going to be a packed house, but we didn't know the extent of a packed house. We're not going to use the microphone because these people here would be deaf by the time they left. You know, you've all been to the concert where you were too close to the speaker. So we're not going to use that. We're going to speak loud and slow. And thank you for coming. This has been at least a 2-year process. Almost. We had here at the Historical Society, I'm Becky Sofer. I'm currently the president here. We have had a coal exhibit downstairs for some time, compliments of Randy Volz and his family. And it was fun when the 3rd graders and 8th graders would come and we'd tell them why the canary was in the bird cage down there. To see their eyes, just, you know, they were going someplace else thinking about that. So when Pam and Sonni suggested about a coal room, we're thinking, we've already got that. But then when they told us what they planned to do for a coal exhibit, we're thinking, we don't have that. And then they told us that they were going to raise $10,000.
You're taking our speech.
You didn't tell. To us, $10,000 is like $1 million. And we truly scoffed. I'm just going to tell you. We said, they're going to raise $10,000. Okay, sweetheart, you go at it. And they've exceeded that like you can't believe. What they have created downstairs is just amazing. They've set a pretty high bar for the rest of us. We have 2 brand new exhibits this year, which I don't know when.
In the other room.
The last time we had 2 brand new exhibits.
Just a minute.
Oh, maybe that's it.
I'm sorry.
That's
And
okay.
also someone said, did we hook up the microphone?
I'm afraid these people are going to go deaf, Kathy, if I do it. But I can talk louder. One year I had 13 saxophones in 5th grade band. I can talk louder. If you're not a member of the Historical Society, we'd love to have you be a member. We live and die by membership dues and donations, and we can guarantee you that any money that you give toward us is spent very carefully, very carefully. We have a newsletter that we put out 3 times a year. When you're leaving tonight, after you stop at the front desk to become a new member at the Historical Society, you might want to grab this newsletter, because in it, this latest edition, is a story written by Pam Perry Hummel titled "Mining is in My DNA," and it is a great story from her grandmother, and the only thing that got left out of the article was Grandma's last name, which is
DeBartolomeo.
DeBartolomeo. That's a pretty big thing. So if you want to grab a copy of this is on the front desk out there, on your way out. It's got that great story in it. We love to tell stories, and that's the focus of what these 2 have done for the coal exhibit downstairs. The artifacts are fabulous, but to have the stories that go with those artifacts is what we really want to be able to do here at the Historical Society. And these 2 have done that with what they've created downstairs with the coal exhibit. So our first speaker tonight is Miss Pam.
The sun is shining. It's beautiful out.
The screen. Yeah, the screen.
Oh, screen. Okay. Good evening. I want to thank you all for attending the Grove City Historical Society Museum Speaker Series. For those who do not know me, my name is Pam Hummel, and I would like to introduce the chairman of our mining project, Sonni Zambino. Sonni will give her presentation after me. I got to go first. There are numerous people to thank for bringing the coal mining exhibit to fruition. I hope you all take the time to see our thank you board when you first entered the room. I want to give a very special thank you to Mike Hazy and his construction crew for turning from a dingy room in the basement into a room fit for a museum. As we said, we could not have done it without you, and we thank you. After our talk, we'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have, either privately or in front of the group. I tell people that coal mining is in my DNA, and it was a very personal and true project of love for me to work on this mining exhibit. A big part of my youth was spent in number 5 at my grandma Rosina's house. Rosina was widowed at 38. Her husband, my grandfather, Nicola de Bartolomeo, was killed in the mines when a piece of slate fell, crushing him. My mother, Edith, was 2 months old. My uncles also worked in the mine. One uncle, my Uncle Frandy, worked in the number 5 mine until it closed in 1939. Sonny's grandfather worked in the number 5 mine for a number of years, and her father was raised in number 5, as was my mother and her siblings. I wish I could tell you that coal mining was a happy job to work at in the United States, but it was not. I wish I could tell you that the lives of our miners were easy and rewarding, but from the research I have done and from personal knowledge, it was not. Coal has been mined in the United States for over 1,000 years, first used by Native Americans to bake their clay pots. Coal was a crucial resource during the Industrial Revolution, fueling the growth of new industries and technologies. It powered steam engines, and which revolutionized transportation and manufacturing, and was essential for steel and iron production. Its production enabled the construction of new infrastructure and machinery that would make our everyday lives a lot easier. The demand for coal led to significant changing in mining practices, transportation.
Would you mind holding it? They cannot hear it. We'll just try and see if that helps.
Oh, okay, it's not on.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not on. That's true.
This is going to be quick, but I'm going to turn this once I find the ones which
Okay.
Testing. Is this any better?
Give it a second.
No, it doesn't sound. It's on now. On. 1, 2, 3.
Keep going, keep going.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Okay, the people in the overflow room, is this any better?
Okay. The transition away from coal for home heating was a gradual process that primarily occurred between the 1940s and the 1970s in the United States. I'm sure many of you in this room either had a grandma or someone.
That's not on.
It's not on.
Yeah, hold on. You have to hold it right to your ear.
Real close.
There you go.
Okay. Okay, I was saying that a lot of people in this room, I'm sure, had grandparents. Maybe their own house was used coal. It had a very distinct smell. While coal was a common heating source, through the 1920s and the 30s, its usage began to decline in the 1940s as natural gas and oil became more readily available and efficient. But coal causes global warming, and we have yet to develop a way in which to burn it without emitting particulate matter, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, and heavy metals into the air. This causes respiratory problems like asthma, bronchitis, and emphysema. Coal-fired power plants are a major source of air pollution, contributing to smog, haze, and acid rain, and emitting carbon into the atmosphere. China tops the list of the most coal-producing polluting nation, followed by India, and close behind is the United States at number 3. That is not a political statement in any way. That is a scientific fact. The largest coal mining areas in the United States are typically identified based on production volume. Can anybody guess what state produces the most coal? Correct. Wyoming. The Powder River Basin in Wyoming and Montana is a major source producing region, with the North Antelope Rochelle Mine and Black Thunder Mine being the largest in the United States. How about the second state? West Virginia. West Virginia is a significant producer of bituminous coal, and West Virginia is also a major source of coal exports. Lastly, which state? Pennsylvania. It's a significant producer of coal, primarily in the Appalachian Basin. and the last is Illinois, and there's the Illinois Basin in Illinois. It has been estimated that the United States has more than 258 years of coal in which to burn. Some statistics show 458 years. But most importantly, what should be known to everyone is that coal and coal mining is a story of immigration. Early immigration to the United States consisted of the Irish and the English, who left the collieries or pits of Wales, England and Ireland, and came to America. Many arrived here having previous coal mining experience. They usually advanced quickly to supervisory positions in the mines, and it helped that the operator of the mines, even in this area, were English or Scotch-Irish themselves. The English and the Welsh immigrants brought a different experience in industrial labor settings. They brought with them a tradition of organized labor from the regions of their birthplace. The first effective miners' union in the United States was the Workmen's Benevolent Association, which was founded in 1896 by John Sonni, an immigrant who had brought with him mining experience from England, although he was Irish from birth. From its beginning, the WBA attempted to represent all ethnic groups working in the mines. But it was not until 1890 when the United Mine Workers of America would successfully organize as being the most effective union in the Pennsylvania coal mines. The Irish immigrants saw a different fate in the coal mines. It varied depending largely on the timing and the circumstance of their arrival and their background in England. Of the thousands that fled Ireland during the Great Potato Famine of 1845 to 1849, more were both physically and financially devastated. They came from backgrounds of laborers and farmers. Many were not equipped to work in coal mines, and that is why they were more likely to work as laborers than skilled miners. But what about the other immigrants? The Hungarians, the Polish, the Italians, the Germans, mostly from Southern Europe. What did they find when they came to America? Many immigrants, like my grandfather, came to America able to read and write. But what America offered them was not skilled labor jobs or well-paid positions in industry. First and foremost, they were viewed as outsiders. What was offered them was to work in the mines. And I have to say that many knew their fate. Many were recruited from their home countries by agents of the coal owners who promised them a better life than they had in their own country. Many of those promises, such as high pay and working conditions, were highly exaggerated. These immigrants entered the mines starting in the late 1870s on into the early 20th century. After coming to coal mining regions, they found they were cheap labor. They came to find the American dream, but many did not find it. Hard physical labor was what they had not envisioned for their life in America. Although immigrants changed the cultural landscape of the region, bringing their own language, customs, and traditions, many found they were not welcomed here. Immigrant workers faced discrimination from both native-born workers and mine operators. Mine operators sometimes encouraged divisions between ethnic groups to prevent unionization. Language differences would create difficulties in communication, further exacerbating the challenges of working in the mine. Many were not allowed to speak their native language while working. Only English was spoken in the mine. Workers were often forced to live in company-owned towns such as Number 5, which provided housing and other services, but placed them under the control of the mine operators and the owners. Miners were forced to buy their own mining equipment, boots, shovels, and explosives at the company-owned store. The women of these communities were forced to shop the company store for everyday essentials. They were always overpriced. Miners began their first day of work in debt. They were paid in script, which could only be used at the company store. In 1955, a new song called 16 Tons hit the top charts when it was released by Tennessee Ernie Ford. And in it he sings, "St. Peter, don't you call me 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store." In the United States, paying wages in script became illegal under the Fair Standards Act of 1838. However, companies in certain industries, particularly the coal industry, continue to use script in various forms. It was not until 1967 that script was officially outlawed by Congress. Miners were forced to seek medical help from coal company doctors. Medical fees were deducted from their pay whether they sought medical help that month or not. If they went outside the company doctor, the miners had to pay the fees. Health insurance, as we know it, it was not. The coal companies in many coal regions owned the road. They paid to put their political people in office, made sure they owned the local sheriff or policeman. The mine owners owned the houses the miners lived in. At any time, they could search it looking for union material or any words written against the company. In many coal communities, newspapers were banned. There were company spies among the coal miners everywhere, turning in miners who they thought were involved in union activities. Miners who were caught doing anything against the company were immediately fired. That meant uprooting their families at a moment's notice with nowhere to go. My Aunt Vera told the story of the unionization of the number 2 and number 5 mines. The miners would lay down on their bellies in the field across from my grandmother's house talking about bringing the union in. It was the safest place to meet and to organize because the grass was so high they could not be seen. Eventually, the United Mine Workers Union was brought into our local mines, like number 5, just a few years before the mine closed. What was it like for a coal miner to work without representation? Those who dared to strike were killed, their family members killed. Scabs took their place. Pinkerton police came in and beat those who were considering a union or who would not cross the picket line. Some well-known and dangerous strikes in coal mining history include the Ludlow Massacre of 1914 in Colorado, where striking coal miners and their families were attacked by the Colorado National Guard, resulting in 21 deaths, including 11 children. There were coal wars between the years of 1890 and 1930. This period saw numerous labor conflicts in the United States, particularly in Appalachia and Colorado. And then there was the Battle of Blair Mountain in 1921. It is the largest labor uprising in U.S. history. This conflict in West Virginia involved a confrontation between armed miners and lawmen, resulting in numerous casualties. It brought the state of West Virginia to its knees. Closer to home, we had the anthracite coal strike of 1902. This strike in Pennsylvania, while primarily focused on labor demands, saw violence and intimidation, tactics used both by the strikers and the mine owners' hired guards, just to name a few, and there are several. These strikes and other highlight the nature of coal mining and the often violent struggles between miners and the companies over labor rights and safety. Mines were unsafe. Miners risked their life every day just entering the mine. Before they were unionized, coal miners worked 12 to 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. If they were lucky, in some mines, they got Sunday off. They worked for pennies an hour. The coal mine was weighed by company employees, and many times miners were cheated out of pay for the amount of coal they had mined. The work was dirty. The mines were wet and dark. Only the light on their helmet prevented them from working in a pitch-black environment. Coal mining was extremely dangerous. There was a constant threat of cave-in or an explosion. They were and still are subjected to health risks, ranging from black lung that almost every miner suffers or suffered as a result of inhaling coal dust, including my Uncle Frandy, who died of it in 1995. But unionization helped that change. The UMWA secured collective bargaining rights for coal miners, giving them the power to negotiate better wages, working conditions, and benefits. Through the United Mine Workers Union, miners and their family gained access to health and retirement benefits, providing financial security for years to come. The UMWA's efforts were instrumental in passing this landmark decision, which provided compensation for miners suffering from black lung or silicosis. Mines are now required to be inspected and were made safer. The mining equipment was made safer. Widows now receive their husbands' pensions. Wages have increased and miners now work an 8-hour day. Unfortunately, almost everyone associated with those mining days in this area are now gone. We rely on written history and conversations with living friends and relatives to tell their stories. It has been my pleasure to extract our community's coal mining heritage and bring it to the surface. I want our children and grandchildren to realize the part that coal mining played in our region and the sacrifices those miners made for our nation. I hope you enjoy our coal exhibit. We've included a great deal of information, and I hope that we have done our coal miners justice. And now I will turn the talk over to Sonni. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. I'd like to ask everybody who is not in this room to please keep it quiet back there. Short story. Jane Cleary, who's running around in a green dress here, is the curator of this building, of this society. Jane and I became friends in the summer of '23, and she told me she was here at this building a couple times a week and I should come by. Of course, I grew up here, but I was in California for 42 years, so even though I had a membership here, would buy some books, I had never really been in the building. So, I come and meet with Jane. We go downstairs. She shows me the Voltz's coal cart, the fake pony, and the drawing of the artwork of the tipple at the end of all of that. And there were some miners' numbers, and there were two little file boxes of union members. That was about it. So I said to Jane, well, my grandfather, Felix Zambino, he started mining coal in 1906 to when number 2 and number 5 went down in 37. What did my grandfather do after that? Nothing. Felix was a character of number 5. I said, well, I don't see anything about who did this coal mining. And I went home and I read chapter 5 of the bicentennial book. And in that book is 15 pages of coal mining in this area, starting with the Pardo mine in 1860. So I thought, okay, somebody needs to tell the stories. My family, I knew other people whose grandparents or parents worked at the mine, or their brothers did. I called Jill Shimmick, who's back there. I said, would you help me on this? She said no, but you should call Pam Hummel.
Smart, Jill.
So Pam and I met. I knew Pam kind of peripherally, and some of my BFFs are her BFFs, and she said, Sonni, I want to help you. Let's tell this story. So I told Jane that we wanted to do something. We didn't know how we were going to do it. So we put our heads together at Pam's beautiful house, at her dining room table, and with her cousin Carolyn Phipps, and with Tom Wise. You know, Tom Wise's dad was a coal miner, his grandfather was a coal miner. And we talked about the kind of artifacts we wouldn't want to find in the community. There was a Facebook page that the society has a Facebook presence. There was a picture that Pam and I found, going through every drawer in this building, of the William Fall Coal Cart Company. F-A-U-L-L, up along Monroe Street, which is behind the Cooper Bessemer, the railroad tracks. I started Googling. I found the Fall Company. I had lunch with the great-great-grandson of William Fall, who was making these coal carts here in the 1800s for the coal miners. The Fall families is out in the overflow room in the library right now. Ron Fall, who started you've probably heard of the Fall Fabricating Company. Ron started that company. And we had a wonderful time together. The other thing we came upon was a guy named Willis Bretz. You know, when you're doing a project like this, you Google everything you can think of. And I found Willis's article that was in a magazine I had never heard of, but it was full of pictures of number 2, where his grandmother lived. And tonight we have with us Loretta Hardesty, who was the second youngest child of Michael Hardesty, who came here in the 1860s also. And Loretta and her daughter are here tonight, and they're in the back row here. I spent an afternoon at Loretta's house in Pulaski and learned how potato sacks turned into dresses. Bicycles got handed down. It was just a wonderful afternoon. So Pam and I came and met with 2 board members here, and we said, we want to do this. We want to tell the immigrant story. And they said, well, we do have empty space in the basement. We went down to look at it. It was a storage shed, basically. It's a 20 by 20 square foot room. Okay. The 2 board members said, we don't have any money. We can't pay you to do this. We can't do it. And Carolyn was here with us. And Pam, she nudges me under the table. Pam and I go, we'll raise the money. Oh, it'll take a lot of money. Don't worry, we'll raise it. We will bend arms. And we did. We raised over $15,000 thanks to a lot of people in this room. If you haven't been downstairs yet, I think you will see that it's worth every penny. We have a virtual reality movie that was just filmed, which is an underground, imagining you on an underground mine. And Pam went, she found the people to make this movie for us. So you put on the virtual headpiece and you get to go through a mine. We also have a TV that is showing clips from YouTube, videos, and we also, there were so many mines here, we're probably standing upon the ground where it was undermined. But you can put in your address, if you lived within the borough, where the nearest underground mine was, or is. Now, most of you here probably knew that, what year was it? In the 90s, Forest Drive collapsed. I lived just around the bend on Oak Hill. But Rocky Stone told us, didn't you, Pam? He and Donna had been in Florida and they were driving home and they couldn't get to their street. They had no idea that the street collapsed right in front of their house. Can you imagine? It took 30,000 tons of concrete to fill in the Hallville mine that ran underneath all of Forest Drive and around the oval of the boulevard. So, back to fundraising. So, Pam creates a letter, we get the membership list, we opened our, contact pages, sent a letter with a form, fill this out, send your money back, and here we are tonight. I just can't thank you all enough. It was, we started, we were given the go-ahead to do the fundraising in April of 24, and we raised finally $16,600. We had hoped to be done a little earlier than now, but because of a water leaking into our space before it had even been built out, that took at least a month to get it to be fixed. It was no one's fault, it was just wear and tear on the building. So I did a lot of the research while Pam was thinking about the space. She's a very spatial person. I'm more of the person sitting at the computer and typing and writing things down. So, almost a year ago now, I was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. So I've been in treatment. Any of you who have cancer, had cancer, somebody in your family, it's not an easy way to live. And I'm thankful that UPMC is still keeping me chipper. After the water leak, Mike Casey and his crew came in and built this beautiful room downstairs. And it was Pam who went through everything I had researched. I had dropped off one big, huge box at her house one day, and I said, okay, here's all the information. You take it. You take it from here. We had already outlined what we wanted to do. The immigration and immigrant story was first and foremost. Then it was the electronics. And she took care of all of that. And everything you see downstairs came out of her creative mind and my getting behind her saying, yes, 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 this is what we decided to do. The high school gave me a whiteboard that's 6 by 6. And as my friends know, I've scribbled all over. What families are we going to use? What's this? What are we going to do here? What are we going to do there? This was not easy, but it was a labor of love. So please, everybody, when you go downstairs, you're going to be very surprised. You've never seen anything like this, I don't think. So I just want to thank everybody for coming, and I do have some special thank yous to the Brett's family, the Hardesty family, the Fall family, also Nate Gressel, who's CEO of the George Jr. He took Pam and I to an outcropping of coal on their 500 acres out there. Jane Ford, is Jane here tonight? She's the curtain woman on Broad Street. She gave us a great map. Also, to Jane Cleary, Todd Burns and Lori McCandless took care of all of the accounting of the money coming in and the money going out. And and we were given a report every day as to how much money we had in the bank. I want to thank the Volts family for letting us use what they had put down there already, and they're very happy to have us integrate what they started. Also, Lillian Rear, who wrote the book, okay, she's written a lot of books. The Way We Were. In it, she talks about the coal mines in Grove City. I want to thank Becky, the president of the board, and Pam, stand up, please. Thank you all for your support, especially my dear pals who are over here in the corner. They've heard nothing but coal, coal, coal coming out of my mouth for the last 2 years. So everyone, please take a peek downstairs. You can read the stories. There's some food out in the lobby out there. And again, Loretta and Kim, thank you for coming. To the Fall family in the library, thank you for coming. Thank you for your ancestors coming here. Thank you, everyone.
Does anyone have any questions?
Which is the direction to the downstairs?
Downstairs. Yeah. Be careful going down the
Yes,
steps.
there is an incline, you know,
Yeah.
you can sit on.
If you need it.
She did. She did, and I was, she was, I go to her often now,
Oak Hill Hidden
Fighting
Forest
that.
Drive all the way up to the
That was
Barking Hill
great.
Road, that's where
but
the
we talk
flag
about
is.
it all the time. I'm really proud of the work she's done. She should.
Well, it was,
And I could tell
where
that she
Oak
must
Hill
have
and
had
Forest
really
intersect, it went then all the way down to the Barking Hill. Pardon me?
And that's what we have. That's our story.
You're good,
No, a lot of houses have limestone. That was just, but most houses have limestone. Yeah, yeah.